What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Wall Street Rundown. I'm your co-host Billy. I got Wale with me. What's good, Wale?
Not much. Glad it's Friday.
Yes, sir. I'm glad it's Friday, man. All this craziness that's happening. Did you watch that video with that was the most awkward video I ever watched with Donald Trump and the Fed Chair Powell. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
You can tell like these two do not like each other.
yeah, you can tell you can tell that they hate each other.
Trump was like, no, no, it's right here. Look, it's 3.3.1, 3.2. He's like, this from 5 years ago. Why are you adding it to this one?
It's a how should I put it? He's fishing for something that's not there, trying to, put Powell on the hot seat. And
Yep. He's trying to
Powell,
find leverage. He's trying to find leverage. That's what
yeah,
he's trying to do.
and I think Powell's gonna, he's gonna stay on until his term is over in
I
May.
mean,
But even when his term is still over, if I'm not mistaken, he's still gonna be on the board. He
mhm.
may not be chairman, but he'll still be on the board.
So
So
he's still gonna give him a hard time either way. So
yeah.
he can't get rid of him just yet. That's crazy, man. But let's talk about some of the performance for this week. The S&P 500 closed at a record 6,388 and 64 cents. We're up 0.4%. Fifth time in a row, the record close. I mean, if you look back in April or even like when we had like that doomsday with the whole tariff showcase, you would never think we would be here right now. But look at that, man. Dow Jones was up also about 0.5% to add another 208 points to close at around $44,901.92. NQ, which is the Nasdaq Composite, closed at 21,108 and 32 cents. Even the Russell 2000 also was up by 0.4%. Like the indexes are moving. Like that's crazy. You know what I mean? Even though we're seeing a lot of chatter about tariffs and all this stuff, stock market is just shaking all these things off. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what's going on, but it seems like there's some type of optimism, or kind of we talked about before, maybe like some late incomers into the market as
Yeah,
so.
I I think that's part of the story, but you
Mhm.
also have to look at how the president has been moving, right? So let's break this down, right? So April, we get the what do you call it? What day did he call that day?
Liberation
Liberation Day,
Day.
right?
Yep.
We get all these monster tariff numbers, market cracks. Then we get a 90-day pause.
Hmm.
And then after the 90-day pause, right? The tariffs that are supposed to go into effect don't go into effect until August 1st.
Right.
So to me, I really feel like the market has adjusted to the fact that the can will just get kicked down the road.
Kick down the
Like
road.
if
Yep.
there if we need an extension, there's going to be an extension, right? So I think what the market has been doing, if I'm not mistaken, it's been calling Mr. Trump's bluff. And, I mean, he's been bluffing since, if we being 100% honest,
Right.
he's been bluffing because after the 90-day pause, right, we were supposed to have tariffs go into effect, but now
Right.
those effects got pushed back to August 1st.
August 1st, which is
So
coming
who
up real quick.
that's next week, but
Hmm.
who knows if we might get another extension or another 90-day pause, or I don't know. So to me, it seems like a game. Obviously, there are tariffs that are in effect based on the revenues that are being collected by the government,
Right.
right?
Right.
But they're just not as bad as everybody thought they would be. So
Yep. Yep.
as long as it's not catastrophic, really don't know what's going to stop the momentum of this market because it's been moving.
Yep. And like you said, everybody kind of caught a wind of like what's the strategy is, right? When it comes to tariff. Everybody kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, now that's why you see like every time there's something has to do with tariff, the dip gets bought
Gets
like
bought.
crazy. Because
Hmm.
everybody knows, you say this, the market goes down, people buy the dip, you come back and say, oh, okay, we're not really going through with it.
Yeah,
We'll push it next time and all this stuff. So
yeah. So it's a negotiation tactic. That's basically what it is.
that's crazy though, man. That is crazy. But overall, I think even this week, the deal with Japan, right? So Japan, I think they're spending like $500 billion for that investment into the US, and a bunch of other deals that the US kind of talked about. And they said China's deal is actually getting really, really close. That's what the president was talking about today. So I don't know what does that mean that it's getting so close, but
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a deal with China, I'm telling you, the market is going to go crazy. But that might also mark the last leg for the market to keep going to go up, right? Because if you think about it, we've been having deals with all the other countries. I mean, it hasn't really driven the market up, but it's like this might be that last leg before we'll have a one more run up, and then we can kind of see some sell off after that. But as I always say, buy the rumors, sell the news. You know what I mean? When the deal is announced, I don't know, man. I think a lot of people are gonna sell because that's probably like the last thing people are waiting for.
Yeah, I kind of I thought that a deal was already announced, but I mean,
Uh,
I've kind of lost track already. At this point, I've gotten to a point where it's like I don't even know what to believe anymore.
oh man, yeah, but it's according to him, that's what he was saying. Like it's coming, it's becoming really really close. But other than that, man, let's talk a little bit about what's happening with Intel. I know Intel just announced their earnings. Stock kind of pulled back a little bit. The investors didn't really like what they've seen. Sales are down, but they're still doing restructuring, right? So there's a lot of stuff still working. And you talked a lot about that. This is a slow moving company that had to do a lot of fat shedding before they can go up. You even give the example of, was it a GM or Ford, which
GE,
GE.
GE.
You give example of GE and how GE took a long time before, but now you see what GE is versus what they were 5, 6 years ago. So talk a little bit about that. I know you say you jumped on the call. Just kind of let us know what you heard.
Yeah, so I listened to not the entire call, but a good portion. I kind of gave in a synopsis of what they're doing, and right now they have a lot of work to do. There is a lot of cost cutting that still needs to be done. I think they talked about one of their divisions that they're going to spin off as a standalone company. I don't know if it's going to be a publicly traded company or it's going to be private, but they are going through a ton of restructuring. So based on what I heard, the what I took away from that earnings call was this is going to take a while. This is going to take a while. And my hope is that based on its current trading price, right, we're what slightly above $20. I think we got up to maybe about 22, 23 not too long ago, back down to 20.
Yep.
Um, any level under $20, I will try to pick up as many
Yep.
shares as I can and just kind of
Yep.
wait this thing out. But it is not going to be a quick fix. And I think
No.
that the CEO and the CFO and the folks that were on the call when they talked about it, I think they were pretty much saying the same thing that, hey man, we got a lot of work to do. So
Yep.
the
Yep.
the
Yep.
the revenue numbers was kind of it was okay, but I will say that the bar was kind of low. So don't have too much expectations there, but they're still, losing money. But I think that hopefully, hopefully they can figure it out. So
Yep. Yep.
especially because like I said, they're a chip manufacturer in the US and, you know, you've got AMD, you've got Nvidia who have just basically left them behind.
Yep.
So they're playing catch up.
Big time.
Hopefully with this new leadership, they can figure it out. But I'm hoping that this will be a good long term turnaround story. This is not something you want to trade with options
Mm-mm.
because you might
Mm-mm.
buy 2 year leaps. And the only I will say this: the only thing that you probably want if you don't want to buy the stock, you can buy deep in the money leaps. So when
Mm-hmm.
I say deep in the money, I'm talking about like the 15, 14 strike
Yep.
because it will give you the same leverage as owning 100 shares if you don't want to buy 100 shares
Yep.
outright.
Yep.
So
And if
that's
you want to
another
buy,
thing.
and if you want to buy it down the road when you have enough money, you can just exercise your options and just get the shares.
There you
Yep.
go. There
Yep.
you go. So that's another strategy for folks that let's just say, all right, I want to buy Tesla. 100 shares of Tesla is going to cost you what, 30 grand
30 grand
at
because
this
you have
price?
300. Yep. Yep.
30 grand. So if I want to buy 100 shares of Tesla and I don't got 30 grand, what is my next best option? So let's do the math on this. So if you go to Tesla, right, and let's say you want to buy a leap that goes out until 2027 December, and instead of buying the you want to buy an in the money call, right? So if you buy an in the money call, let's say you want to buy let's just say the 200 strike. 200 strike has a delta of 0.85, which is close to one. The closer to one, the better. But instead of paying 30 grand, you can buy it for $16,000.
Mhm.
So basically what that means is now you have decay, but you're at the 200 strike, so you're deep in the money.
Yep.
But basically what that shows you is that um, you don't need to, you can control 100 shares for half the price.
Yep.
That's basically what you're doing. So instead of spending 30 grand on 100 shares in the open market, you spend 16 grand, control 100 shares.
Mhm.
And then at any point down the road, if you want to, you can exercise your option to
Options.
buy
Yep.
if you want to eventually convert those into shares, and your cost basis will be $200 a share.
Yep. Yep.
So that's another way you can kind of use leverage and options without going on the open market to buy that. Now, the only thing about options compared to shares that you have to remember, options expire, shares don't.
So he's don't. Yep.
So the closer you are to delta of one, the better for you, the less
Mhm.
you have to worry about decay. But if you want to go to a delta of one, you got to go down to maybe about the 150 strike.
Which is
150 strike has a
probably what,
delta of
20 grand?
0.91. It's less than 20 grand. So it's still 10 grand cheaper, about 19 grand.
Yep. That's not bad.
Yeah. So if you ever see a stock that you like and you want to own the shares at some point, but you don't want to spend the money to buy 100 shares, use deep in the money leaps. It's another way you can do it. So
Yep. Yep. Yep.
it's also a strategy that's very popular with Mrs. Nancy Pelosi.
The legend.
She
The
does that.
legend.
She does that pretty often.
The legend.
Yeah. So,
Now let me ask you this. I saw this on Twitter. Somebody said that poor people buy calls, rich people sell calls.
mm,
That thing messed me up a little bit because in order for
it
you to buy a contract option in the market, somebody else has to sell it. You know
that's
what I mean?
true.
If you think about it. So it's like,
That's true. Huh.
I'm like, man, you don't have to be rich to sell calls. You just have to make sure you have enough to cover it. This is like, you know what I
That's
mean?
true. But I think
So
what they're probably saying is, right, in order for you to sell a covered call, you got to have 100 shares of that stock.
yeah,
So if you got, you sell, a covered call on Tesla, you got 100 shares of Tesla at 30 grand. You can't, compare that to somebody who's buying a contract for like $1,000.
true,
I kind
true,
of get it.
true, true. But I mean, I was like, damn, you ain't gotta put it like that.
Yeah.
We can all make money. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
people who sell calls, they are how should I put? You need a lot more capital
Mhm.
to be able to do that and be able to sleep at night. Now you can
Yep.
sell naked calls, but I promise you, you're not gonna sleep at night.
Nope. You're gonna be tossing and turning. Because unlike buying calls and buying puts, you're actually gonna owe a lot of money if that thing goes against you. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
oh yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I kind of get the rationale, but that's funny though.
yep,
Poor
yep.
people buy calls, rich people sell calls.
Yo, so I remember back in 2022, I bought a bunch of spy calls. It was for like, I think about like maybe a 30 calls or whatever for like expiring in like 2 weeks. I held on to it, didn't close it. And the day that I was gonna close it, guess what? They made me exercise it. I think in total it was like $50,000 or something like that. I was like, yo, I called, I was like, look, man, I entered a buy spy. They're like, yeah, you can just close it out. You don't have to buy it. You can just literally close the positions and that's it. I was like, damn, so why
Yeah,
would you guys the damn thing? Like, I didn't ask for you to exercise it. You know what I mean? But that's one thing you got to pay attention to. Like, some brokerage will force exercise some
mhm,
positions.
mhm.
So that's another thing you guys got to pay attention to also. But that thing, I didn't sleep for like 2 days, man. I was like, can they do that? I was like, this is not right. I was like,
Yeah.
no.
So if you're in the money,
Mm-hmm.
right, and you are near expiration and you haven't sold, Sometimes they'll force you to sell it,
Yep.
or they might make you exercise it.
Yep.
So that's something that you have to be mindful of.
Yeah. It rarely happens, but
It rarely happens. Yeah.
yep.
I typically, when I get, before expiration, I'm getting out of my position anyway. So I don't have to deal with that issue. I will say this though, the first time I did trade a spread and the part that I sold expired worthless. The part that I bought was in the money. So I kind of hit my max profit,
Yeah.
but I didn't do anything. And they closed it out for me.
Yep. Yep.
But when I originally looked at what the transaction looked like first, I thought I owed so much money. My heart sank. And they were like, oh no, you have the call that you bought, so you don't have to worry about the call that you sold. So I was just like, I forget how they explained it, but whatever they explained
Yeah.
it to me, it didn't end up being as bad as it was, because when you buy a spread tops out. There's a maximum profit that you can get on a spread.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
once you've topped out, if you don't close it, they'll close it for you. Yeah. So
Man, but I was like, yo, that's for me. That was like, I've never experienced anything like that, so it was nerve wracking for a little bit. But the guy was like, he's like, just close it. Like, why are you stressed about it? I was like, oh, I can do that. He's like, close
that's
it.
funny. That's funny.
I was like, good God. But the next thing I want to talk about is how big is the AI opportunity? I know we talked a little bit about Jensen Huang saying this is a multi-trillion, hear me out, not billion, multi-trillion dollar opportunity. And NVIDIA wants to be at the forefront of that. You know what I mean? They want to be beneficiary in areas like, let's talk about robotics, AI-driven infrastructure, autonomous machines. Like they want to be in any electronic, any computer, anything. They want to be in there. They want to be the one running the chips. That's why I was saying like Nvidia really wants to be the basis upon what each and every single technology is built upon.
Hmm.
That's why they're investing so much money and they want to be global, right? They don't want to just be constrained to the US. They want the chips out there, right? Because if you can use NVIDIA chips right now to build the basis upon your technology, you always going to rely on NVIDIA, right? Even if you want to build something on top of NVIDIA, either you have to strip NVIDIA completely off and start with your own, and probably not going to be the same functionality, and you have to figure out how to work it without an NVIDIA chip, or you can just build on top of it and buy more chips from NVIDIA, right? So I think it's a really, really smart move when it comes to business, right? So let me get your opinion on that, and let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So I saw Jensen was at some conference with some other big names in the investment space, and basically what he was saying was like the internet was a $1 billion opportunity when you kind of look at it in the grand scheme of things. Now he's saying that the AI opportunity is in the trillions. And I think they were saying for like every dollar that gets invested in AI, it has like a 4x output
That's
or
crazy.
something like that. So they're talking about, that it's going to make people more efficient. Everybody can be like the barrier of entry to be like a coder or a designer or to be a creator of anything has just gone to basically zero. Because if you have access to artificial intelligence, right,
Mm-hmm.
you can build. Because let me just give you an example. Let's say I want to make a movie. I need actors, I need studio space, I need capital to raise money to, shoot a movie. Now I can go into an AI program and type in a whole script, type in what I want the video to do,
Yep.
and my cost is minimal compared to
Yep.
actually shooting an entire movie and calling like a Will Smith or a Brad Pitt or something that's like, hey, who wants to do this role in this movie? When I can create my own narrative and create my own actors, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's just an example. Now, I'm not saying all movies are going to be made by AI, but it just tells you that you don't need $200 million to actually shoot a movie.
Yeah. Well, Netflix just released like I forgot what movie it is. They use generative AI in some of those scenes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
See? So stuff like that. So, with that being said, to be able to create, it almost seems like anything, like AI replacing coders, like all kind of stuff.
Yep.
That barrier of entry has been lowered. So more people are going to be in that space.
Hmm.
And what we have NVIDIA doing, like I said before, they're selling the shovels, or they're the platform that everybody's going to be building on. Now we are hearing about other people trying to create their own AI chips, obviously. So we'll see if NVIDIA ever gets to a point where they have any real competition. Because right now they don't got
Mm-hmm.
any real competition right now. Like nobody. AMD is behind. Intel's way, 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 way behind.
Yeah.
I know that Amazon and Meta are also trying to make their own chips as well, but so far, NVIDIA is the top dog. So one of the things that I keep stressing is that when you look at just the chip component of the AI space, that is just one part of the entire picture.
Mm.
So if I was an investor, I would go into Chat GPT or Gemini or Copilot, and I will start to go down a list and say, who are NVIDIA's top partners when it comes to their chip
Yep. Manufacturing
design
stuff. Yep.
and manufacturing? Who are they? You'll get a list. VRT is a name that we talked about way, way, way back then, like I think
Yep.
sometime last year,
Yep.
as one of the companies that supplies their cooling technology to NVIDIA. I think VRT has a earnings call coming up. Ooh, next week. Okay. The stock was up what? 5% today.
Mm.
Back in April, that stock was down at $80. It's now at 137.
Sheesh.
So, but this is a name that you're not seeing in the headlines, right? You're
Right.
not
Right.
seeing VRT in the headlines.
Right.
Everybody's talking about Nvidia, 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 Nvidia. VRT's made a very similar move, but kind of under the radar. So, doing your research behind who these people are and who these companies are can open the door to opportunities that you may not have thought about.
Yep.
So when Jensen's talking about $1 trillion opportunity, he's not just talking about NVIDIA. He's talking about all of the other opportunities and open doors that will arise from other growing companies in this space. You've got CoreWeave, you've got all of the power suppliers. I actually saw a chart today of the last 25 years of the utility index versus the S&P.
Mm.
And over the last 25 years, they have both performed the exact same.
That's
So
crazy.
all of the utilities, and the reason why utilities have pretty good performance in the long run is because they're if you're reinvesting those dividends, a lot of those dividends are pretty robust.
Yep.
Like you're not getting like 0.3, you're probably getting like three, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8% in dividends. Like I don't know what the XLU pays, but the XLU has actually done pretty good. So when I look at when I talk about power, right, and the need for power in this AI story, I would be looking at XLU and which companies are in that space. Like I think CEG is one, Vistra is one, NRG is one. If you want to
Yup.
go,
VST, AAP, all those. Yep.
yeah, if you want to go to the nuclear side, you've got ACLO, you've got SMR, you've got NNE. All of these names are, out there on the power sector.
Yep.
So when you start to take and dissect the pieces of what the AI picture looks like, there are so many components that you can piece together. And
Right.
I'm not saying that you need to be in all of them, but find maybe one company in each sector
Facts.
that you want to be a part of, and then just let it ride.
Yep. Yep.
So I still think that TSM, right, is still going to be the one of the biggest players in this space. And
Yep.
I'll even go out on a limb because I'm trying to figure out um, what's Broadcom's market cap, because Broadcom is the other company, AVGO.
Yep.
AVGO. What's their market cap now? Because they crossed $1 trillion mark. They're 1.37 trillion. and
Yep, 1.36.
1.36. And what's TSM?
TSN just crossed. I did point 1.9. Is it? I did touch.
1.27.
Yep.
1.27. I'll go out there on a limb and say that TSM will beat ABGO to the $2 trillion mark.
Yeah. I won't be surprised.
I'll go out on a limb and say that. I think so.
I will not
Because
be surprised.
I am just waiting for that Arizona factory to go live
Hmm.
and for them to be able to just pump out a ton of chips for everybody that needs them. Because I really don't see who else are you going to go for chips at this point. Because
You said, yeah.
yeah, I don't know Intel. I don't know if Intel can figure it out that soon. And I don't think companies can afford to wait. And I don't know if AMD is going to be able to catch up to what NVIDIA does. But AMD goes to TSM to
Right.
build their chips. So
So overall,
that's
I think, yeah, like I think looking at the entire market, you definitely have to break it down like that. Like you have to, you know.
would you say Tesla is AI as well? Tesla, I would not say no because they're not a supplier to the AI market. They're a buyer.
Yeah, buying.
Yeah,
Especially for the autonomous vehicle.
they're a buyer. When I
Yep.
talk about the AI story, I'm talking about suppliers, people who supply power, people who
Hmm.
supply chips, people who supply the connectivity, people who supply the servers. Like that's who I'm looking at. I'm looking at suppliers, not
Yep.
buyers.
Yep.
Tesla
Yep.
is a buyer of AI technology. They're not a supplier.
Right.
But
Right.
that's a good question. Yeah.
Yep. I was I,
So
I, I pulled up a summary table that basically break it down like solution, key partners, and roles. So it's like if you look at NVIDIA, it has here the solution area. So like direct liquid cooling and CDUs, right? When to cool down all the equipments and all this stuff. You have Cool IT, you have Jet Cool, then you have Pertiv, which is VRT, and you have nVent, right? Those all produce um, uh, uh, cold plate, CDUs, heat exchange for AI rack deployment. So they make sure that those stuff stay cool and all this stuff. Now, if you talk about cold plate and manifolding, you have Asia Vital Components, you have Cooler, Master, Auras, and Fuzzytech. So those are all partners of NVIDIA today, right? Yeah, for immersion cooling systems, SMCs in there, Gigabyte, and Liquid Stack. For power infrastructure, again, VRTs in there, and then Penguin and Shell, right? They deliver power. They make sure that everything kind of stay cool and that stuff. Now, here's the interesting part. I didn't even know this. They have a next generation cooling technology that Intel is actually their key partner, and they're actually building it right now. It's not ready yet, but Intel is actually going to be one of their partners.
no, that makes me excited.
So I was like, whoa, hold on. This might be so there's a possibility of partnership down the road, like when if this thing can become a reality. So again, it's not ready right now, but it's like once it becomes ready, they might support future NVIDIA megawatt system like the NVL 576. So, as the chips get more and more advanced, you're going to need advanced cooling technology and all this stuff. So
Correct.
again, you break it down to partners like that. Look at that. We
Yeah.
have VRT, SMC. That's all names that we recognize. VRT,
Mhm.
SMC, Intel. We recognize those names. It's like, there you go. That's your partners right there.
And the thing is, some of these partners may not all be publicly traded companies. Some of them might be private. So you
Yep.
want to obviously look for the publicly traded ones. But like I said, go into Chat GPT or whatever Grok, whatever AI thing you use, and just say who are NVIDIA's biggest partners when it comes to their business.
Yep.
It'll give you a list, and you can just start there and start branching off.
Yep.
But
Yep.
like I said, the two that I like the most, VRT, been in VRT for a long time now,
Yep.
and
Since
that's paid off.
before $100.
Oh yeah, for a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I let go of TSM, unfortunately, but I sold it to buy Oklo, so that wasn't a terrible
Hey,
move.
it wasn't a bad move.
That
It wasn't
wasn't
a
a
bad
terrible
move.
move. But you start to branch off and start to do your research on these companies,
Mhm.
and you'll start to really find opportunities because listening to CNBC or, the headlines on like Yahoo Finance, you're not going to find, the smaller players. And this is the thing that you always want to do as an investor is if you can find a good company in the early stages
Oof.
that is
Oof.
growing rapidly,
You can find some
that's
gems.
that's where you find the diamonds in the rough. Because remember, let's just be honest. Let's just sit here and be honest. Nvidia hasn't always been a $4 trillion company.
Nope.
Like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, were they around 20 years? I don't know if they were around 20 years ago, but at least 10 years ago, they were a smaller company,
Right.
but they grew based on the vision of the CEO. They grew based on executing on a lot of things that people needed, and boom, Amazon wasn't always a $1 trillion company. Meta wasn't always a $1 trillion company.
Right.
So looking at some of these like smaller cap companies and looking at their business and the speed at which they're growing, those are the opportunities you want to be in long term. You want to be like an early investor. Now, let's be honest and keep it 100. The road is not going to be rosy,
Right.
right? It's going to be a bumpy ride along the way, but when you take a step back and you look bigger picture, you probably get a better view of what the company has done. So, yeah, I mean, I will say if you're not invested in some way, shape, or form in the AI space, you're gonna get left behind.
Yep.
You're gonna get left behind. You're gonna get left behind. So whether it's Nvidia, TSM, VRT, one of their partners, whoever it is, you want to be a player, or you want a piece of that $1 trillion pie, and you want to just
Facts.
ride that wave over the next couple of years. And if
Facts.
there is a pullback of substantial magnitude at any point during this whole process, you should be an aggressive buyer. Because just because the market goes down because of whatever, I don't know, tariffs, um, maybe the US gets downgraded because the dollar gets weaker, I don't, whatever it is. The AI story is not going away.
It's not going away. No.
If you listen to all of these big companies like Google, their capital commitment to the AI story is massive.
Yep.
We're not talking about like a couple $100 million. We're talking about billions of dollars.
Yep.
You're gonna listen to Amazon. You're gonna listen to Microsoft. You're gonna listen to Facebook. All of these big name companies have committed so much capital to be in the AI story. All you want to do is just be a piece of the pie.
That's
And
it.
worst case scenario, if you don't want to do the research and be, and own individual names, just go buy QQQ or VOO, FBOO. I think BOO is cheaper than QQQ, and I think it's more tech heavy than QQQ. Just buy that and just
Yep.
ride the wave.
Yep.
Like don't overcomplicate it. Because I'll tell you, if you're gonna buy individual stocks, trust me, you want to be in tune to what's going on with the business.
Facts.
You want to. Because if you look at Intel over the last 10 years, right? If you just said, I'm just gonna hold Intel for the last 10 years, and you're not listening to what's going on in the business, you've lost money.
Yep. And you missed a huge run too with Nvidia.
Yeah. You would have been, if you bought Intel, you just been like, I'm just gonna stick with Intel because stocks always go up. That's not always the case. You could have, if you listen to the earnings call and you listen to what's going on with the business and you hear the signs of trouble, or you know how to look at a balance sheet, you see the signs of trouble, you'll know when to get out and go find another opportunity.
Facts.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
but yeah, don't get left behind because I'm telling you that to me, it's revolutionizing the way everybody functions.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody functions, and companies are committing a ton of capital to it. Don't get left behind.
You heard it here first. Well, not first. We've been talking about this since last
Yeah, we've
year.
been talking
So
about it for a long time, but every time you see Jensen Wong doing these like speeches or going to these conferences, he talks very confidently about
mm,
what's happening. And he can do that because if you need the AI chips, guess who you calling? You're
Calling it.
calling him.
Yep. Yep.
So he's privy to what companies need. I mean, go listen to what he talked about. I think Elon is trying to build this Colossus 2 data center. Guess
Hmm.
where they're getting their chips from?
Yep.
NVIDIA.
Yep.
So until they get some like real competition, I mean,
Yep.
just
Yep.
just know that they the 800-pound gorilla that's in the spotlight, but there are other role players that are part of the picture that you should also not overlook.
Facts.
Yeah, so
The same way you call Ghostbusters for ghosts, you're gonna be calling Nvidia for chips. So so when they say who you gonna call, you gonna call Nvidia.
exactly. And I'm
Oh
I'm
man.
really interested to see if anybody in the next 1 or 2 years will give them a run for their money.
I mean, it's gonna happen. We don't know who it is, but it's
Yeah,
always there's always somebody who's willing to run faster, better, bigger,
correct.
and
That's
build
true.
something that's way better than you. You might hold the space for a long time. I mean, you see Apple, Intel, you see IBM, like
Oh
all these
yeah,
companies that used to be like those giant behemoths that you're like, oh my god,
Oracle. Yep.
nobody can beat this. But now you see all this startup just show up and Nvidia's here, AMD's
hmm
here, TSM is
hmm
here. You know what I mean? It's
hmm
like,
And there was a time at one point where Microsoft didn't do anything for a long time.
nope,
They
nope.
didn't do anything for a long time, and then they finally figured it out. And I think, what's it called? Dang, who was I gonna say? I think Apple's in the same space right now.
Yep.
They're
Apple's
stagnant.
Apple losing
They
momentum.
they are stagnant. And when you talk about who's getting left behind in the AI race, other companies are running laps around Apple right now. Hopefully,
Yep.
they can figure it out.
Yep. Yep. They got
But
money. They got money.
that's it. They got money. They don't know what to do with it. What's the?
Mhm.
It's kind of like as a trader, right?
They're
You buy all these
comfortable.
courses.
They're
You buy these
comfortable.
courses about trading, but you don't
Yeah. You
take
don't
any
you don't
action.
execute. You don't
You don't
execute.
execute. You don't
Yeah.
do you no good.
Yeah. They're
Shane says
comfortable right now.
Tesla's going to make their own chips. They might. They might. They might.
Mhm.
I'm not a engineer, so I don't know what you have to do if you build an AI platform on certain chips and then you want to bring your own stuff. You got to start from scratch, or I don't know how that whole
Yeah.
thing works. But
Yeah.
to me, from what I understand, if you're building on top of NVIDIA's platform, I think it will be very hard to just kind of take them out of the whole process at
And they
some
probably
point.
they probably make it harder for you to do it too.
Hmm
They'll probably make it a lot harder for you to do it. So
got you on like
because
a golden handcuff.
yeah, because if you guys thinking about it before, like I don't know if you guys remember this time, you used to be able to buy phones unlocked. You can
Uh-huh.
put whatever SIM you want in there. Then phone companies start getting smart. Oh, you can only use our SIM, right? You can't use any other SIM. And then they even got even more smarter. No more SIMs. You just get the phone. Everything is activated already. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So
That's true.
it's going. It's Nvidia probably like, hey, you can buy a chip, but if you take it off, whatever you have, it's not working anymore.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So
And the question is, do I want to start from scratch?
exactly,
Do I
because
want
it's
to
gonna
start from
cost you a
scratch?
lot of money. But let's move on to next week. We have big time earnings next week. We have a lot of good earnings next week. Starting with Monday, we have a couple of so we have waste management reporting on Monday. Let's see, Whirlpool, Cincinnati, Nucor, NUE. That's another one to watch out for. And then Tuesday we have Procter and Gamble pre-market, and we have Coca-Cola also, United Health, Visa, Boeing, Mastercard also as part of the Dow Jones components that's going to be reporting. That's all on Tuesday pre-market. Then we have Wednesday, July 30th, some of the big ones. Meta is reporting, Microsoft is reporting. They're all going to report after market close. Thursday, we have Apple reporting, Amazon reporting after market, and also including Visa, Qualcomm, Ford, ADP also in there. And then finally, Friday, we're wrapping up with Chevron, ExxonMobil, all that's pre-market. So we definitely have a lot of things coming up next week to see how the market react to it. Any of those that you're keeping an eye on, Wale?
The ones that I am thinking about the most, I'd say Meta,
Mhm.
because Meta's on a spending spree right now,
Yep,
as far as talent in AI.
they're getting
I want to know
everybody.
what their capital commitments are to this whole super team that they're
Yep,
trying to
yep.
build. Apple, I kind of want to hear what they have to say about, are they making any progress in their whole AI story? But right now, I really don't care. And then Google reported already, so I'm past that. But
Yep,
yeah, those are the only ones that I would sit there and say that I'm really, really paying attention to.
that's
But
crazy.
yeah, I think that's like what almost what $10 trillion in market cap that's
Yep,
reporting coming up.
yep. That's
The
gonna
big
be
the big boys.
the big boys are reporting, so we'll see how the market reacts to it. And then finally, key events and market catalysts for next week. You have the Federal Reserve policy update.
Oh, we
People are
got
gonna
Fed meeting. Yes.
Yep. So pay attention to how Jerome Powell talks, his tone, and all this stuff to see exactly how that happens. Then we have the July jobs data also is coming up, and
Mm,
Q2 GDP and core PCE also inflation releases coming up. Right.
okay.
We got a lot of crazy numbers. And
Yeah,
finally, we're wrapping that whole week up with August 1st tariff deadline. We'll see what the administration said if we are extending it or is going into effect.
yeah,
So
maybe I should just close my trades and just sit on my hands next week and just let the
it's gonna
dust
be a
settle.
wild.
Let
It's gonna
let
be
the
a wild
dust
week.
settle. Yeah, because we got big tech earnings, we got Fed meeting, we got
Yep.
PCE.
Yep.
Whoo.
Deadline.
Yeah, if you're a trader, yeah, don't overstay your welcome.
Please don't, because
Don't overstay your welcome. Yeah.
implied volatility is probably going to be crazy. So this
Yeah.
might be it might also be it might be a good time for like small trades, you know.
Yeah.
So but other than that, that's all we have. Any advice going into next week that you want to talk about?
No, if you are someone who's not invested in anything now, I hope that this episode gets you activated.
Yes.
Get over your fear of investing. If you got a fear of investing, get over it. Get over it. Um, if you are invested in your employer sponsored retirement plan, that's a good start. It's a good place to start, but you need to do something outside of that. So,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
just take baby steps. Take baby steps.
Yep.
If it's $25 a week or $25 a month you can commit to on a regular basis, start there. But I don't take Jensen Wong's admonition lightly that this is a big opportunity over the next couple of years. All you want to do is just be a piece, just enjoy the ride. That's it.
Yep.
Don't
Yep.
need to be the smartest person in the room, but don't be the person sitting outside the club trying to figure out why I didn't get in. And the price of admission is not that expensive.
Nope.
It's not that
Nope.
expensive.
It gotten better. It gotten a lot better. All
Yeah.
right. With that being said, y'all have a good night. Have a good Friday. Stay safe out there if you're going out. If you're on the weekend, please stay safe and enjoy your weekend. And we'll talk to you